Good evening. This meeting of the East Ridge Planning Commission will now come to order for August the 7th, 2023. And if we could get a roll call, please, Ms. Middleton?
Chairperson Tuggle,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Howe,
Here.
Commission Member Cornelius, Commission Member Williams,
Here.
Commission Member Witt.
Here.
Thank you. I trust everybody's had an opportunity to review the minutes from the July 10th meeting, and I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. Second.
Thank you. We have a motion from Commission Member Witt and a second from Vice Chairperson Howe. Ms. Middleton, roll call?
Vice Chairperson Howe,
Yes.
Commission Member Witt, excuse me, Commission Member Williams,
Yes. Sorry.
Commission Member Witt,
Yes.
Chairperson Tuggle.
Yes. All right, there is no old business, so we'll go directly into new business. And the first item is the request of Stone Creek Consulting LLC to have the property located at 1026 Greens Lake Road, tax map ID number 168EN015, rezoned from R1 Residential District to R3 Residential Apartment District.
Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I think we need communication comments from public.
We tried that last time, and nobody stood until we did the actual item, but I'm more than happy to entertain any communication or comments from the public if you want to go now before the meeting begins, or if you want to wait until the item is being discussed, that's fine as well. You are welcome to if you'd like.
You'll have an opportunity during the actual new business as well.
Yeah. This was an adjustment I noticed in the minutes last month, and then nobody stood when we read that, so I skipped it this month. So,
Let's get it off.
okay, we'll cross it off for next month. All right.
Good evening, everyone, members of the Planning Commission. So the request to rezone from R1 to R3 Apartment District would be to legalize the existing quadruplex. Currently, the quadruplex is a legal non-conforming structure, which prior to the adoption of the East Ridge Municipal Zoning Code in 1989, the parcel was zoned urban residential, which allowed uses such as single-family, two-family apartment houses, and multiple dwellings at that time. After the adoption of the municipal code in 1989, it basically made the structure legal non-conforming at that point. The parcel is surrounded by commercial and multi-unit residential to the north, commercial to the east, and single-family to the south and the west. The density of it is 10 dwelling units per acre, which is 4 units. Adjacent residential is 5.26 dwelling units per acre. With two sides of the parcel adjoining the commercial and residential, it creates a balance of transitional zoning there from like your local business to your high density back down the R1 residential. Planning Commission approved the request to rezone the adjacent parcel at 1016 Greens Lake Road from C2 to R3 back in 2016 and was approved. The parcel is compatible with adjacent land uses, development form, and there's no concern regarding lighting or height.
Thank you. Is there a staff recommendation?
Being that this is a legal non-conforming structure and it's just going to come into conformity, being zoned R3, would recommend approval.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Allen. All right, and give an opportunity for members of the audience to come up and speak if anybody would like to speak either in favor or against the request. If you don't mind giving your name and address, please, to the microphone.
Good evening. My name is Alan Jones with Stone Creek Consulting, and I represent the owner and developer of this property. And in addition to just bringing it up to conformance, Drew is the client, and he owns the property. He's looking to do some renovations to the property, and before he does a substantial financial investment, he'd like to bring it up into conformance with the current zoning.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. All right, that was quick. Anybody have any other comments? Sure. Feel free to come up. If you don't mind giving your name and address, please.
I'm Zach Schultz. I live at 1017 Greens Lake Road. We got the notice in the mail that this was happening. I just had a quick question just to make sure, what exactly was going on with the property literally across the street from, my home. So this is just to make it legal get it within rights to continue being a quadruplex. Is that correct?
That's correct. The way it's zoned right now, being R1, if something was ever to happen to that quadruplex, it can never be built back as that quadruplex. It would have to be a single-family dwelling.
Okay.
Being that you do have an adjacent parcel that was rezoned to R3, which it is a quadruplex, and it was allowed at the time prior to 1989, That use was conforming to that district. Now, since we adopted, it's no longer. So yes, it would bring it into conformity with what is existing use. That's correct. Mhm.
So that's what it's going to continue to be? is-
Correct.
Okay.
And for the record, the developer's representative is nodding his head that that is what it will continue to be, so.
Okay, awesome, cool. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Is
being
there-
here.
Anybody else who would like to speak? Okay, seeing nobody, are there any questions from the staff or from the commission?
Can you do you have any idea of what kind of renovations you're looking at? Because, Mr. Howell, do you know, at one point, 1026 Green Lakes come before the Housing Commission?
I'm not sure if it might have been there, Mayor Williams. I know we've had issues with that property in the past, but it's been several years ago when I believe Mr. Beamer owned that property. And that's been many years, but since then, to my knowledge, we've not had any more complaints on that property.
Is it currently occupied?
So right now, there's 4 units, and there's one renter right now in one of the units. But as far as the renovations go, he's looking at redoing all the paving on the property, sealing all the asphalt. None of the garages operate, so getting all the garages actually functioning so that the tenants can use the garages. And then also just doing some renovations on the interior, whether, painting cabinets, countertops, that kind of thing. And just trying to make it look nicer. He bought it, I think it was, I have to look back at the tax records, it was either earlier this year or later last year. And he's ready to upgrade the property and make it nicer. So,
Mr. Howell, I think there was some structural in the past. Do you know if that's been corrected? Because I know there was.
Yeah, that building itself is really unique. It's like a fortress because I believe the whole entire thing is CMU. I mean, and yeah, it's a fortress. So there was some code complaints at the time, but
Okay.
any of the structural issues were at that time fixed and repaired. So yeah, it was approved and
But knowing that they actually are going to pull a permit to do renovations, then they'll also be inspected and made sure it's within code.
absolutely, yes.
Okay.
If it falls under that jurisdiction of building permits, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, yes, absolutely. It'll be inspected by our department.
So to clarify, one of the 4 units is currently being rented and actively occupied?
that's correct.
Okay.
And he's going to plan on renovating the 3 that are not occupied, and once those are
Okay.
renovated, rent them out, and then he'll have discussions with that renter, and, do they want to move units, do they want to wait until their term is up to renovate that last unit?
Any further discussion? All right, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion from Vice Chairperson Howell and a second from Commission Member Witt. Ms. Middleton, roll call, please.
Vice Chairperson Howell,
Yes.
Commission Member Williams,
Yes.
Commission Member Witt,
Yes.
Chairperson Tuggle.
Yes.
Thank you, Commission.
Thank you.
Okay, the second item on the agenda is to review and discuss Ordinance 481 to amend the parking dimension of spaces for the C1 Commercial Tourism District, C2 Commercial District, and C4 Planned Commerce Center District. Mr. Howell.
Yes, members of the Planning Commission, this one's kind of unique. City Council has requested the Planning Commission to review Ordinance 481, particularly to amend the parking requirements, space dimensions for the permitted uses, all permitted uses within the C1, C2, and C4 districts. From the current standard of 9 by 18 parking space dimension to a 10 by 20 parking space for off-street parking.
Okay, I do have one question. Would that change if somebody repaves their existing lot and has to restripe? Would they restripe under the current pattern or under the new pattern? As speaking as somebody who will be affected by that, just curious.
So we have a lot of businesses that are really starved for parking along Ringo Road, and it would. You would then have to go to a 10 by 20 parking space for the C2.
Okay.
C1 or C4, yes.
I have since thought about this when we did it on the council, and I'm not sure that I totally agree that we need to make these changes.
Yeah, I know the typical, just developer standard in my head is 9 by 18. I've never heard of a 10 by 18 being a standard. That seems awfully,
It's actually 10 by 20 that
Or 10 by
council was
20,
looking
sorry.
at. Yeah, I mean, and you think about that. So we looked at changing the parking space requirements from
Right.
1.25 in the the hotel motel districts, right? We reduced those to stop all the variance parking requests because, it's 1-to-1 basically throughout the United States. So now we're looking at increasing the parking sizes, which is going to be, expanding the lot sizes as well. So it's almost a redundance there. Now you're going to introduce another variance for parking dimension sizes, so. And all of ours dictate on basically, square footage of buildings or, how many seats a building's required. That dictates your parking requirements, so. I mean, you do see like City Hall, for instance, it's 9 by 18. Some of the 30-degree angles out there are 10 foot wide, but it all depends on your angle settings. Usually your 90 degrees are always going to be 9 by 18s. Your 30, 60, 30, 45s and 60s, they're going to be different size because you need that additional clearance when you're backing out, So I recommend council not to do this at the time, but here we are with it, so.
So, I think refresh my memory, the reason that this came before council is we wanted to get in the hotel motel area, we wanted to get that changed down to a 1-for-1.
1-for-1, yes.
Because right now it's 1.25,
2.5, yes, sir.
and we were getting a lot of variances
Yes.
on that. So we brought it to council to change it for a 1-to-1 on the actual rooms versus parking spaces. And I think that's when one or some of the council wanted to bring this up, to change the width, which for every 9 parking spots, you will now lose a parking spot if we go from 9 by 18 to 10 by 20, correct? If I'm doing my math correctly.
That's correct.
I don't see any benefit of going to 1-1 and then we got to widen it, and then we widen it, and we lose spots again. So,
And we do have a lot of recent developments that are parked straight in to the new widened sidewalks, and there's not a provision to angle them, speaking of certain developments I know of in the area. And so that's really, I don't think that hurts other people and doesn't truly solve the issue for the
then when you brought
hotels.
up the fact about someone just wanting to restripe an
Right.
existing business, they're not grandfathered in, they'd have to adopt a
Yeah.
new one.
Yeah, you don't get away with non-conforming when you're restriping.
No,
It doesn't work that
You
way.
do not. That would affect every business out here.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all my questions. You got it in a minute.
Gonna update the minutes? Is that it? Okay. Okay. All right. Any other discussion, questions? Any questions or comments from the audience? No? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to deny.
Second.
Great, thank you. We have a motion from Commissioner Witt and a second from Vice Chairperson Howe. Roll call, please.
Vice Chairperson Howe,
A yes is to deny.
Yes.
Commission Member Cornelius,
Yes.
Commission Member Williams,
Yes.
Commission Member Witt,
Yes.
Chairperson Toggle.
Yes. Okay, that being all the new business we have, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.